Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about ActionScript. So nothing is going to take place in your movie unless you assign some sort of action script and let it know what is going on. So ActionScript 3, and that's what we're working with. This file right here is an ActionScript 3, is the scripting language of Adobe Flash Professional. So you can use ActionScript and you want to add interactivity, some sort of playback control, and data display to your application. So ActionScript is an object-oriented program language. So you've probably been learning other kinds of languages. Flash is no different. In order to get anything done in your file, you have to use ActionScript. So this object-oriented program is a way to organize the code in a program using code to define objects and then sending messages back and forth between these objects. So the first we have the class. The class defines an object. This code consists of properties, methods, and events. So you kind of want to think of this like a blueprint of a house. So you can't live in the blueprint, but you need it so that you can build the house. It's the same thing with Flash. So you use classes to create objects. So an object is an instance of a class. When creating an instance of an object, you declare what class it is created and from sets of its properties. So this right here is an example. Right here, if I select this button, this right here, if I look over into my properties panel, I have given it a name. This is its name. I just called it time_9, just because I just want to show you how you can create a file and go from one section of the timeline to another. So that's why I call this button simply timeline. And you have to give your buttons a name. You have to give it an instance name. I went over this before in another tutorial that I did for you. So property, one of the pieces of data bundled together in an object. The property helps define an object, provides the object's characteristics. So property is a variable that belongs to an object. And a variable is a name that represents a value in the computer's memory. As you write code, you write the variable's name as a placeholder for the value. This allows you to write code even if you don't know all the possible values a user might provide. So method is an action that can be performed by an object. For example, the horse might gallop. You might have a horse that gallop and have a method called gallop. When the method gallop is called, it shows an animation of the horse galloping from one point to another. And function, a block of code that carries out specific tasks, can be reused in your program. For example, you might create a function called check email to verify that a user has provided text that can actually be used as an email address. An event, something that happens in a Flash movie. ActionScript is aware of and can respond to. Many events are related to users' interaction. For example, when your user clicks a button, then this is an example of an event. The technique for specifying certain actions that should be performed in response to a particular event is known as event handling. This is very important to understand. If you really have a hard time using code and understanding code, then just go ahead and open up the code snippet. I use the code snippet all the time. So you just have to go to Windows and just open up code snippet, and it's right here. And if you open up ActionScript right up here, and that's what you're looking at, you can find whatever you're looking for, what kind of activity you want to do in your file. For this particular file, I chose timeline navigation, and I wanted to go someplace along my timeline, and I wanted it to stop there. So all I had to do was just click and find it in my action right here in my timeline activity here. So what I ended up doing, and I will show you here, if you select it in the code snippet, it will come up like this. And the code snippet will actually help you. I'll have to open this up so you can read it. So what I did was click to go to frame and play. So clicking on specific symbol instances, the instance is the button, moves the playhead to a specific frame in the timeline and continues playback from that frame. Can be used on the main timeline or on a movie clip timeline. So instructions, replace the 5, which is the number they had down here, in the code below with the frame number you would like the playhead to move when the instance is clicked. So I put a stop on. The reason why I put a stop on is because I didn't want this file to keep repeating over and over and over again. So right here, I will go through what this is. So we have what is called event handling, the technique for specifying certain actions that should be performed in response to a particular event is known as event handling. Event handling consists of three important elements. The event source, which object will trigger the event. For example, which button is clicked. And in this example, it is this button down here. This button, I selected this button right down here, and then I selected whatever action that I wanted, and I wanted it to go to someplace along the frame and stop. So you can just select that and it will just go to right here, the first one right here. Click to go to frame and stop. When I double click that, it actually created an action layer. So you have to be very careful because every time you use the code snippet, it creates an action layer. You don't want to have more than one action layer on your file. You only want to have one action layer on your file. So what you're going to have to do if you are using the code snippets, and I did repeat this in a previous movie that I did, you have to copy and paste your code and keep everything on this one. Like if I decided I had more buttons on this particular file and I decided that I wanted to add different interactions, then I would have to, I can use the code snippet and it's going to make another action layer. I would just copy and paste it and put it right on this first action layer. No more than one action layer in your file or your file will get very, very confused. It's a very smart program. It knows exactly what you want it to do. So if you notice here, I had selected my button, okay, and then I selected that I wanted to click and go to frame and stop. I double click that and you will see that right here is the code that it did. It put in my instance, which is the name of the button called timeline, and the event listener, okay, and it tells exactly what you want to do. The event is mouse event, it's click. So when you click, it's going to go to the frame and play, and that's exactly what you want it to do. But then I wanted to specify it, and I wanted to actually go and stop because I wanted to stop at frame 46, and that's where I had chose. So I put my first image here is my crab, and it went up to frame 45, and then at 46 I put in another image, and I actually telling Flash that I want you to play this, and when I click this button, then it's going to go to this frame. It's very simple. It's not difficult. You can do your whole project this way. It's very simple. It's not complex. So let's just see what this looks like. Let's go back here. Okay, I'm just going to play this. Control, test, I'm fast professional. And you see the first thing that comes up is my crab, and now my button, I roll over my button, and this goes to my frame. Okay, now I didn't put a back button or anything on it, just wanted to show you basically very clearly what this does. So it went to frame 46 and it stopped because that's what I told it to do. So the event source is which object will be triggering an event, and like this one I said is the button. The event, what is going to happen? What interactions do you want it to respond to? Identifying the event is important because an object can trigger and listen for several events. The response, what action do you want performed when the event happened? And in this, what do I want performed? I want it to go to and stop at frame 46. It's not really too difficult. If you use the code snippet, it will help you. If you notice that an action, there's you just have to figure out what you want to do. So if you can open up actions, timeline, timeline navigation, animation, load and unload. If you want to load a swaying file, right here, click load a swaying file or an image. This is a lot that the code snippet will help you to do your whole project. You have audio and video, event handlers, mobile tech events. A lot of these things you're not going to get really into, but I just want to go through a couple of these things to help you. So when ActionScript program is running, Adobe Flash Player just sits and waits for certain events to happen. And when those events happen, the player runs the specific ActionScript code that you specified for the events. What you need to do is try to take control of your events. Don't let the program take control of you. Make use of the code snippet. Just kind of break this down and think about what you're doing. I don't touch anything in here because once this, I use the code snippet, and if I try to alter anything in here, then it is going to make a big difference, especially in the Adobe CSS versions, the cloud versions. It really does make a big difference in the cloud versions. I think in the later versions of Flash, you can actually go in here and change, your information here. But don't do it in this instance. Just all you need to do is just change where you want it to, go to and stop. It's very, very simple. But like I said, you have to make sure that you put a stop on your file. Otherwise, it's just going to keep running through the whole program. So you don't want it to keep repeating over and over again. So you're adding an event listener is a two-step process. First, you create a function or a class method for Flash Player to execute. This function is sometimes called the listener function. And second, you use the add event listener method to connect the listen function with the target of the event. The add event listener method tells Flash which object to listen to, which event to listen to, and what function to execute in the response. So very simple. If you're going to do this by the timeline, this is the very simple way to do it. Now, if you want to do this, let me just open up another file that I had here. Let's just grab the one that I have. It's right here. Okay, so I actually created two scenes, scene 1 and scene 2. In scene 1, I told Flash that I wanted to go to scene 2. I wanted to go to the first frame in scene 2 and play. So very simple. This was my advent listener, a mouse click. You have to make these into a button. So, and you have to use instance. So if I go up to the top and I go Control, Test, and Flash Professional, I click this. Very simple. Goes to scene 2. Okay. So I will place these files online for you too. I'm going to go through a couple of other things that you can do. This is very simple and easy to do. Okay. Now if you want to create more scenes, you just have to select here and you can open up your scenes and you can create more scenes in your file. Go up to the top, insert scene. You can insert as many scenes as you like. Okay. Okay, so I have a little file here that I'm actually using a start and stop button. As you see, I have this little square that I put a tween on, as you can see here, because it goes from this point to this point. And then I created a stop and start button. So let's just go over and see. Here's the name, start underscore button. I gave it an instance name. And my stop button, and I gave that also an instance name. So let me see what the ActionScript looks like on this file. If I go to the action frame, and you will see below are the listeners for the two buttons. So we have the start button, the add event listener, mouse event click, start movie. And then we have the stop button, add event listener, mouse click, mouse event click, stop movie. And below are the functions for the two buttons. The function is start movie, mouse event, play, and the function is stop movie, mouse event, play, stop. So let's just take a look and see what this looks like. And you can see we have the buttons right here. The text, I just wrote a little text here to show you it has to be an ActionScript 3 again. And then I tell it to start. You have to really press it hard. Okay, so they're going to go through a couple of more. Okay, so in this little movie that I did, I actually want to move my little star that I have here, my little starfish, up and down. So you see the function is I actually have to put in, you know, how I want this to move, and I have to indicate here how I want this starfish to move, and I have to put in a number, and this and going up and going down. So this is the function, and then the button. I have to use the event. I have to tell the button that I want it to go up when it's clicked, and I want it to go down when it's clicked. So you have two buttons here, and you have the up button and you have the down button. So let's just take a look and see what this looks like. So if I click this button, now I can tell my starfish to go sideways. It just depends on whatever numbers that you put in. And you see, we'll keep continuing on. And then I have the button to bring my starfish down. There are a lot of different things that you can do in your file by using ActionScript. Okay, so in this movie, I want to resize my little starfish. So again, my function, it tells you how the size right here, the width is plus equals 10, the height is plus equals 10. You have to kind of play around with this to try to figure out what size you're going to do. And this is going to go up, and then the function go down, and then you put the width, but in this instance, I put minus equals 10 and height minus equals 10. And then again, I have my add event listener right here. Is the up button is going to create the event where it's going to go up, and the down button is going to create the event when the mouse clicks, the mouse event clicks, and it's going to go down. So let's just take a look and see what this looks like. So if I push the button, the starfish gets bigger. And I push the button down, my little starfish gets smaller. I actually created a little movie just by creating different frames along my timeline. I don't have that many frames, but if you click from one frame to the next where it says numbers, you will see the what the movie is going to actually look like. So my ActionScript, if I go up to my ActionScript, you know, I had to sign my buttons. You make sure that you create an instance for your buttons. And again, we have one is a back button, and the next one is the next button. So you have to name your buttons, you have to name your instance. So I have three little images here, a fish, my crab, and a starfish. So let's just take a look and see what this looks like. Again, I have to stop because I want it to stop. I don't want it to keep playing over and over again. So the function is to go next, my mouse event to the next frame. And then I have the other function is to go back my mouse event to the previous frame. So now I have my two buttons, the next button. So my add event listener is to click and it's going to go next. And my back button, my add event listener, is to mouse event click and go back. So let's just take a look and see what this looks like. Very simple, easy file to create, nothing too complex. I'm going to go up to the top and I'm going to test my movie. And then I'm going to click my button. So I have exactly 7 frames here. This is a very easy way to do a file, especially if you're doing a little portfolio site. And just one more file that I want to show you. This one here. Let's just bring this one so you can see this file. You may not want to get too involved in something quite as complex as this. Let me just, this is overclicked, but I just want to kind of show it to you, and I'm going to put all these files in for you so you can view. So this is basically a file where when I click on the button, and I'll show you. Let me just show you. It'll be easier to show you. So if I click on this or roll over it, you will see that the image will show. If I click, it goes out to the website. There's a lot of stuff that you can do in this program. This is just a very basic image to show you. So I have up here the image that I have put in. I set my the URL right here. I put that in my request. My add event listener is the mouse over in this instance, and then the add event is clip, go to, and play. So my mouse over shows the image when I roll over it, and then when I click it, it goes to the website. So function, it's a little, this is a little bit more complex, but it's just to give you an idea of all the different things that you can actually do in Flash. Flash I haven't even touched the amount of things that you can do in this program. So this is the end of this tutorial. I hope this will help you work with your buttons this week. Don't be afraid to open up just go up to the code snippets and just check out what's in there. Check out all the different action scripts, all the different actions, the timeline navigations, all the different animations, the load and unload. If you want to load in your Swain file, this is where you would go. You would load this into your file, and the code snippet will help you. But then again, just remember that you can only have one action script on your file. You cannot have more than one action script on your file. That will cause a lot of issues. So if you're using a code snippet and it makes it an additional action script layer, then you have to copy and paste it and put everything on one layer. So I'm going to stop here, and I hope this helps you.